Dandavat Pranams. Welcome, welcome. Broadcasting live from the SoCal Seva Ashram, from the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram in Santa Cruz, California. It's about 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7:34, and the sun is just starting to set on this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Gupta Govardhan. I wish I could actually, you know what? I think I'd like to show you all how beautiful it is. Give me just a moment. So we're in the temple room and stepping out into the backyard, just so you can hear the birds. So this is the backyard of the Seva Ashram. It's very green right now because it's springtime here, and in the distance, I know it's hard to tell, but in the very, very distance, we have some trees over there, and that's the orchard. Those are avocado trees, and I'm not sure if all of them or some of them. I believe Siddhanti Maharaj started these trees, these avocado trees in the distance that I just showed you. This is the entrance, and this is the back deck. Okay, so I just wanted to share how beautiful the ashram is. Beautiful Gupta Govardhan, hidden Govardhan Hill. And we are here under the guidance, protection, and shelter of their lordships, Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari. This is their domain, their home, and they are giving us shelter. And we get to be here because of them, not anybody else, right? They are not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. So, by the mercy of their lordships, we have this beautiful temple, and we all get to be here. And this beautiful mantra that's written there on either side of the doors in English, holding an even higher position than Vrindavan, is Govardhan, where Sri Sri Gandharvika Giridhari are ever engaged in their play of divine love. And in English, Vrindavana hoite shrestha, in the Sanskrit, Vrindavana hoite shrestha Govardhana shaila Giridhari Gandharvika yata krida koila. And of course, the king of the land, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj, and our Guru Varga, Gurva Bista Suburakam Guru Ganera Shisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samastavera Nipunam Shri Rupa Pantanugam Govinda Biram Ujvalam Bharatanum Bhakti Anvitam Sundaram Bande Vishwa Gurun Chadevya Bhagavat Premnohi Bijapradam. Om Agyanati Mirandasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. And look at all these beautiful flowers. These flowers here are, these flower vases and these decorations are just so lovingly put together by the devotees who come and serve here. And every day some beautiful activity is going on, some beautiful rendering of service. And this week I wanted to talk a little bit about this one line from the Sri Tulsi Parikrama song. And it's written by Srila Chandrasekhara Kavi. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is because, first of all, I'm constantly repeating this mantra, or this meditation, and it's from verse 4 of this song. Dupa Deepa Naivedya Aroti Pulana Kiye Varaka Varakani Chapana Boga Chatrisya Byanjana Bina Tulasi Prabhu Eka Nahi Mani. And this part, Bina Tulasi Prabhu Eka Nahi Mani. This is one of my favorite lines because without Tulsi Devi, the Lord is not accepting the offering. And, you know, the pujari of the evening just closed the curtain and is offering the boga. And if you know anything about the process of, you know, offering to the deities, and those of you who are cooking from home and offering from home, that's so beautiful, such a beautiful practice to offer everything you eat first to our Guru Varga and Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Guru Gauranga. But yes, when speaking about, you know, placing this boga offering on the altar, we always put tulsi leaf on every single preparation. And we know that Tulsi Devi, we all know who Tulsi Devi is, right? She is the goddess of devotion, Bhakti Devi, right? In the form of this sacred healing plant, who is actually not a plant. It's the goddess, right? She is Bhakti Devi. She is devotion personified. And this is just a very clear thing to remember, that without Tulsi, without devotion, without Bhakti, the Lord is not accepting it. So don't even try. I don't know if I would say don't even try. But this idea of what are we doing? What are we doing? I ask this often, like, what am I doing? What are you doing? What are we doing? We don't know. But one thing we know is that without bhakti, we're not really sure what's going on. But even if we don't know what we're doing, and there's a drop of bhakti or an effort in that direction, that's what's being accepted. That's what's being offered and what's being accepted. And this is, you know, I always like to speak from where I am, my practical experience and stories, and my experience with growing up in Krishna Consciousness, having been born and raised in this, you know, path, and actually living in an ashram since I was a toddler, pretty much my whole life. My mother lived in the ashram also when I was in the womb. So, you know, this experience of this culture, this spiritual culture, the premise is devotion. The premise is love. Everything that we do here is about that. And sometimes it can be so easy to forget and so difficult to remember when we are stressed, or we have so much going on, or we're in survival mode, right? Like just like operating like on autopilot. But really this concept of, you know, devotion being the premise of everything. And I just wanted to kind of start off with the theme for the evening and dive right in, because it's been on my mind and I want to dive a little bit more into this. But before we go in, I wanted to kind of say hello to everybody here. I see, let's see, who's here? Marco Bruno is here, Dandavat Pranams. And we have Oscar Rojas, aka Adi Keshava, the wonderful Adi Keshava, who is always singing and dancing. Dandavat Adi Keshava Prabhu. Oh, he's sending hearts. And then we have Michael Thompson. Yes, you're so welcome for the walk around, little mini walk around. We have more land here to walk around, obviously, but this is just straight out the door. I hope you enjoyed that. All the birds singing, if you could hear them. Divya Shakti is here. Dandavat Divya Shakti. And we have the Ecuador Seva Ashram is watching. Dandavat Pranams. And Javier Ramirez. Dandavat. And, oh, Dandavat Pranams. Dandavat. And, okay, Jayananda from Mexico, from Tijuana. Dandavat Pranams. So, thank you all for being here. And the whole purpose of being here is to take a moment to remind each other of why we're here. And, you know, oftentimes in the world of what I do, which is coaching and mentorship for business and for purpose, helping women find their purpose, find their gifts, and learn how to create businesses out of them, we talk a lot about this idea of purpose, of your purpose. What is your purpose? And how can you live a life that is in alignment with your purpose? How can you generate income from your purpose, what you are actually here on earth to do, your God-given gifts? And, you know, life without a purpose can be very dry. It can be very boring. It can be very methodical, robotic, right? Kind of on the grind, the hamster wheel. Wake up, go to work, make money, come home, go to sleep. Wake, you know, same thing over and over again. But when you are in your purpose, when you are driven from within with an inspiration that is from the inside, right? This why behind why you get up in the morning every day, why you do what you do every day, that deeper meaning, that deeper purpose is everything. That's what allows us to have the discipline, the encouragement, the enthusiasm, right? And all of the wonderful qualities that can come. And so I am no expert in the field of bhakti, but just a meditation that, you know, without this mood of, it's like being bereft of our purpose, right? Without this mood of love and devotion, there's a huge difference between what we're doing, right? With devotion and without devotion. And again, I am not an expert on the topic of devotion, which is probably why I'm thinking about this, because I want to meditate and understand more. But there's something that I observe within myself, and, you know, inviting you to observe within yourself, just the difference between the activities that you do in your life that are connected to purpose, to devotion, to this love, to this connection that you feel with it, and the difference between not having that. And I remember living in India with Govinda Maharaj, with my Guru Dev, and starting to kind of get tired. I was starting to get tired of just the constant situations there and thinking to myself, why am I even here to like undergo so much austerity? And, you know, before I had traveled to India, I had thought to myself, wow, I'm already connected with Guru Dev, and now all I'm doing is putting my body in a tin can and flying it over there so I can be physically close to him, which I'm very grateful for, because that was extremely necessary and important. And every word he said to me in person is like my thing that I rely on every day and think about every day. It's like my life purpose, my why. But I remember starting to feel this lackluster kind of, not really there feeling the same enthusiasm that I did before. And I remember I walked into his veranda one day, and he just looked at me and he said, where there is happiness, where you are happy, that is what I am searching for. And I thought to myself, you know, I always, whatever he said to me, I was like, okay, I have to understand this. I have to figure out what this means because I know that what he's saying to me, I hear the words and I can understand them, but there's so much more depth and so much more meaning. And I don't know if any of you were here with me last week or if you watched the replay of last week, but I was talking about how, you know, this percolation process of what we hear from the mouths of our Guru Varga, what we hear from the Shastra, what we hear from the Vaishnavas, you know, it's not just like you're going to get it overnight and it's going to like overnight. In some cases, some things are like that. But in most cases, right, there's a percolation process of really absorbing and allowing the message and allowing the inner meaning to be revealed, to be unfolded, and to truly be absorbed and embodied within our consciousness. And so this percolation process, I would say I'm still percolating that message and absorbing it. But one thing that I was thinking about this week, leading up to today, as I was considering what I would like to share about, was that, you know, Srila Govinda Maharaj really derived a lot of joy from us being happily engaged in bhakti yoga. He wanted us to be happy. So when he said to me, where you are happy, that is what I am searching for. One of the things I've understood that means is that he didn't need me to be miserable in India, in Calcutta, right? Undergoing all the like never-ending trials and tribulations. He didn't need me to be there suffering. I mean, low-key, I kind of think there was a lot of learning that happened as a result of whatever experiences were there and whatever experiences we're facing. There's always a learning. But sometimes it may not be just so necessary to suffer so hard. I'm not saying we're going to escape suffering, but there is this definite requirement, I would say, or opportunity, maybe an even better way to put that, to actually experience a higher understanding, taste of what joy is, of what happiness is. The joy that we get from serving the Vaishnavas, the joy that we get from hearing Hari Katha, the joy that we get from honoring Prasadam, the joy that we get from laughing in a funny class or in a funny moment, or, you know, the joy that we get from making the garlands or from serving, you know, whatever it is that we're doing. That is actually very important and is not to be ignored and put aside or to be labeled as unnecessary. It's actually extremely necessary for the function of, you know, living in the bhakti yoga experience. Because if we don't experience a sense of heart melting or devotion or joy or some sort of attachment and pleasant connection to our spiritual path, then where in the world are we going to get any understanding of what that might be? I honestly don't know, because I will tell you that from my experience in growing up in this practice, I oftentimes, you know, experience things in the material world and I'm like, are you serious? This is what people are like considering happiness or considering fulfillment or joy or whatever it is. And I remember, you know, after having lived in India for so long and then having grown up in the ashram and then living outside of the ashram for the first time or coming back to America, it's like there's the opposite of jaded, because it's a positive thing, but there's this kind of like acclimation and like transition where you have to adjust to the material vibration, because oftentimes, living in the holy Dham, there's so much sacred spiritual potency that we're often protected and sheltered in many ways from the vibrations of this material world. And so oftentimes coming back and looking at what people in this world consider happiness or what people are striving for, it's kind of sad, actually. It's pretty sad. Like, wow, you think you're so happy because of this position or this like sense of authority or this like power or this wealth or this car or this, whatever it is. But then what? Like, what happens when the paint chips, or when you break up with that person, or when the bank balance runs out, and so this concept of bhakti, it's a life after life after lifetime experience and practice, but it doesn't mean that we're going to neglect the little teeny moments, the little moments where our iron hearts get a little chip taken off of them because of a sweet, heart-melting exchange. Maybe it was Jivana handing us a rasgulla in the Prasadam hall, or maybe it was Ramai Prabhu, making a transcendental joke, or Srila Janardhan Maharaj telling a great story. Those little moments of joy, of laughter, of happiness, they count, and they're extremely important and extremely necessary. And they may be training wheel experiences, but it's something that I was thinking about, Sometimes we walk around like, rah, 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 service, or gonna go do this, gonna go do that. Even in our regular mundane activities, oh, I gotta go send the email and write the thing and do the thing. Or, oh my gosh, the friend's birthday party. Oh gosh, I gotta show up. But there's a difference when there's a mood of gratitude and devotion involved. And, we're always in this rush to get to the destination, to achieve the results, to receive the satisfaction, to get the fruit. But what if every single moment was an opportunity to score an even greater result? Like, the more present and grateful and joyful you could try to be in the very moment, what if that also determined the quality of your result? So it's like this inner awakening and inner cultivation of softening the heart and allowing joy to permeate through our being is important, because there's plenty of fear, there's plenty of authoritarian, energy and rule mongering and all these like kind of dry, kind of material vibrations. And those things oftentimes can put people into a defense mode or a fight or flight mode or a survival mode. Everybody has their own intrinsic psychological responses and patterns. But what's universal is the frequency of joy, of happiness, of laughter, of love. And I would say, if there's anything that we are responsible for doing as Bhakti Yoga practitioners, it's learning how to embody that simple gratitude, that simple happiness, that simple joy, that devotion that confidence, that enthusiasm, that faith, that trust? What if these became our daily meditations? And if we had the opportunity to pause in every moment and be present to how precious this moment is. Earlier this year, I signed up for a quantum energy course, and I found it to be really interesting, and I've mentioned this before, because it allowed me to hear in English verbalized, verbalization, the description of certain energetic spiritual principles. And one of the exercises that the woman who created this program had suggested, I think it was called the stop method. And it's really the point of the exercise is to make you aware of the moment. Instead of rushing and thinking 5 steps ahead, you're here in the now, in the present moment. And so the exercise was to, say you're going to reach for your cup of tea, or, you're washing a dish. And instead of mindlessly autopilot doing that, taking that moment to just pause for just an instant, maybe half a second, and then maybe next time for 1 second, and then 2 seconds, and then 3 seconds. And in that moment of pausing, to basically be in remembrance. Jai Saparikara Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Jogi Jai. Like this moment right here. What if we were to just pause and take a moment, a second, as often as we can of our every day, to pause and to remember this, right? And no one can, anyone that's ever walked into this temple room, and bear with me because I'm kind of approaching this subject from very simple, practical little experiences, but anyone who's ever walked into a temple room, and we'll just talk about the temple room here at the Seva Ashram, they cannot deny or forget that moment of peace, right? The smell of the incense, the flowers, the purity and the brilliance of the room, the coziness, right? That heartfelt kind of feeling that really pulls at the heartstrings and gives us this, as the book that Gurudev, the home comfort, this real inner fulfillment. Yes, it's internal. Yes, it's a state of consciousness. Yes, it's beyond our senses. But our senses can also recognize and experience some element of that. And so not denying or rejecting the senses, oh, I will not smell, I will not taste, but purifying the senses with prasadam, with the smell of the flower that's been offered, with the sight of Tulsi Devi, with the sight of the deities, with that feeling of home comfort that we get to learn and experience from our association with this beautiful culture of bhakti. All of these little, simple, small moments all add up to a feeling of home comfort, to a feeling of heart expansion and the opening of the heart. Even if it may be $2 worth of bhakti, $3 worth of bhakti, it's $2 worth of bhakti that we feel, right? Little feeling of devotion, a little feeling of happiness and gratitude. And that's only going to create and allow for more opportunity for the proper mood and for the proper experience, for the proper connection. So, Bina Tulasi Prabhu Eka Nahi Mani, does not give mind. The Lord does not give mind to your offering or to anything without a drop of devotion. Right? Even just like the simple example of receiving a flower with love versus a flower in obligation, like here, right? There's a big difference. So the invitation is just, you know, I've been meditating on it this week. Like, what am I doing? And am I doing it with awareness, with gratitude, with devotion? And what I find is that even just asking yourself this question and being mindful of that space and opportunity begins to cultivate a different sort of relationship to what you're doing, to yourself, to the experience or the moment. And if anything, how do I explain this? Like, this is the heart transmission. This is how we're transmitting from one heart to the other. Not just through an external talking or physical movement, but it's through bhakti, it's through devotion, through your own joy, right? Your own taste and experience, that anything you share with another is going to be felt. Prem no hi bija pradam, right? Srila Govinda Maharaj giving this seed of bhakti. Prem no hi bija pradam. He's giving this seed of bhakti. And there's so much more involved in him giving this seed of bhakti than the actual vision or idea we may have in our head of what that looks like. His mood, his example, how he made you feel, right? How he spoke to you, what he transmitted, all of that is instrumental in the transmission of bhakti. So I can't say that I have some like conclusion or like clear end goal for what I'm saying. I'm sharing very much a meditation that I've been having this whole week. But, you know, what I experience over and over and over and over again is that whenever I have the opportunity to speak to people, when I have the opportunity to speak to strangers about Krishna consciousness, because usually just introducing myself and my name opens up that conversation. And what I find is that over and over and over again, what people walk away with is how I made them feel. How I listened to them and shared in the heart transaction, in the heart plane. That's what's memorable to them. That's what touches their heart. That's what makes people want to stay in touch or want to find out more about what I'm doing, right? It's not because of some external position or external identity, but rather the mood and the quality of engagement. So in that same way, our mood and our quality of engagement with what we are doing as service, as chanting, as kirtan, as, you know, shravanam, kirtanam, and all of the devotional processes, you know, there's the quality of that transaction. And that's what we feel here in this temple room and in the kitchen and in the places of service where the devotees are spending their time, right? What we're feeling is their hearts. Not just like, okay, the chopping of the carrot and the serving of the thing and the clinking of the dish, but it's the it's the mood that is the song of that dance, right? It's the bhakti, it's the devotion that really fills that whole experience with any flavor. And the Bhagavad Gita, talks about this, and we hear about this over and over again. It's like, forget all your duties and your caste and your creed and all of that, but sing with love, offer with love. Cup of water, fruit, anything you do. The priority and what's in the forefront is that mood of devotion. And sometimes I find myself rushing, to do the deity service and rushing to get ready. And how much more beautiful that experience is when I'm happily chanting and choosing to be on the path of happiness, choosing to be in a different transactionary plane. And this applies to our daily activities, right? So the daily activities that we have to go through in our life to maintain our material existence, they can be so dry, but they can also be offered and transcendentalized. And so when you think about your life, whoever's watching, when you think about your life, where are those places that maybe feel disconnected or unhappy or a little bit depressing or a little bit stuck? And where are you perhaps neglecting or, how do I say this? Cutting yourself off from that potential stream of connection, of joy. And it's not that I'm saying, oh, we have to be joyful and happy all the time, because it can also look like not being happy, yet continuing to chant and stay dedicated, right? So where in your life are you feeling the absence of that circulation of joy and practicing enthusiasm? And the reason I wanted to draw attention to this is because, to be quite frank, we have this gift and opportunity of consciousness right now. And we can choose what channel we want to tune into. We can choose to tune into the depression and the sadness and the discontentment or the whatever, feeling disconnected or not so enthusiastic, or like our spiritual life isn't working, or we're not really following or doing our sadhana. But we have the possibility and the opportunity to actually make an adjustment. And that song, don't worry, be happy. Ooh, 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 do, 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 do. It's such a beautiful little cute melody. We're not going to go on a ukulele rant right now. But that song, it's like, you can put a smile on your face, don't worry, be happy. And Srila Prabhupada, chant and be happy. Would always say, chant and be happy. We have the opportunity to actually flip that channel. And it begins by just catching ourselves when we're feeling disconnected, when we're feeling discontent, when we're feeling like blaming things on everyone, or feeling, obviously sometimes there are environments that just are heavy and personalities that just kind of bring like a doomsday kind of vibe into the atmosphere, and that can be very challenging in and of itself. And that's where it's important to look at okay, what kind of people do I want to be around, and what kind of environment do I want to be in? But for the most part, we are free so far still on this planet. We are free to shift and to choose our reaction and to choose our staying or not staying in situations. And that includes mental situations, right? Internal situations that may not necessarily be helpful or healthy for us. So if you're under any situation or strife that's distracting you from the possibility of joy that is readily available to you, the possibility of spiritual life and spiritual practice, it's important to take a look at that and consider what you can do with what you have now in your hands to shift that. And if you don't know how, and if you feel lost and confused, begin by chanting, by praying, by hearing, and by asking for those answers or those solutions or that path to find that way. When you find yourself choosing to be in that stream of negativity or strife or unhappiness, it's important to understand that you can get out of it and how to get out of it. And obviously this line, this Bina Tulasi Prabhu Ekanahi Mani, I don't fully understand that. I cannot properly explain that. But what I can say is that without having a deeper connection to what we're doing and, you know, a real endeavor and a real effort to consider how we can actually evolve and up-level the quality of our offering, we're going to stay stuck, right? We're going to stay stuck in whatever reality we wish to stay stuck in. But when we can consider how we can go deeper, how we can increase that connection, and how we can really evolve from that place of stuckness or unhappiness, or that place of disconnection, when we begin to consider that path, the answers and the solutions will come. And there's a sense of resuscitation that happens, right? Just as if when your leg falls asleep and then you get it moving and the circulation starts coming back. You know, happiness, bhakti, and these qualities that are closer to the mode of goodness and that are related to spiritual life, these are life-giving pleasures, right? Life-giving sources of energy, life-giving joy, happiness. And it's necessary for our practicing life, right? It can't just always be so serious all the time. Especially when the nature of our soul is to seek bliss, truth, right? To seek eternal fulfillment and existence. So we get to consider how we can open ourselves more and more to what is this jet stream of bhakti in our everyday activities and in our mood of surrender. Surrender doesn't just mean like, I surrender my car. I surrender my $150,000. I surrendered it. I'm surrendered. No, it's deeper than that. And again, no expert. But I have some idea or hint that surrendering is this eternal giving up, like giving up the attachment to being the controller, giving up the attachment to being the person that decides the outcome and that is controlling everything, and allowing for a little space of spontaneity and joy and being guided, letting ourselves become puppets in the hands of beauty personified. Not a bad opportunity. And that's going to take a little bit of surrendering the false egoic self, whoever you think you are, stop, right? Like, and just come back to that simplicity, to that simple mood, to that childlike innocence and appreciation of the beauty that is practicing life. I was remembering today, like, wow, I remember when for me fun and going out was packing my little picnic backpack and venturing off into the hills here in Gupta Govardhan and reading my Gita under the tree. That was like me partying. And I was thinking about that today, how I really wanted to be in nature, but it was like dead. I was like, nah, I don't want to go up in hills right now. This kind of like obstruction, or like losing the taste for just like the simple reveling. How many moments of revelation have been there as a result of taking the time to read and just relish in reading the scripture, or relish in chanting, sitting under a tree and just chanting peacefully? How much can come from that one moment of just being in that stillness, or that one moment of entering, the altar and doing that altar service, if, or whatever service you do in the world, and all the ashrams that are in your homes. From that one moment of simple connection and surrender and an attempt at devotion and presence can come so much joy, so much presence, so much realization, so much connection, and so much opportunity. This is, very kind of like a spontaneous conversation. And I'm just curious how it's landing for those of you that are watching. Are any of you resonating with what I'm saying? And if you're resonating with anything I've shared, I'd love to see some heart emojis or some emojis coming through. Because the whole point is to encourage each other to breathe a little more, right? To ease a little bit more and to let go of trying, grasping, controlling so hard every single moment. And allowing this reciprocation of bhakti, allowing the channel of bhakti to at least be established. So I'm curious, what you might be present to within yourself as I'm sharing this, and what it makes you think about, or maybe there's an area in your life that you're looking at, or a moment that you had that you're like, oh, wow, if only I could just take a moment to pause, or to bring more presence into the services that I'm doing, into the offering that I'm making, into the exchange I'm having with the devotee. There's been several devotees that have passed away recently, and I remember my last moment being in their presence and seeing them and not going and saying hi, or thinking of them and not sending a message, and then hearing that they've passed away, right? So there is this kind of level of presence that we're being called to have in our spiritual life, in our waking life. And that presence and that willingness to be, and to be an offering, and to have this internal posturing of offering, I have a feeling that that's like somehow a part of prepping the soil for bhakti, right? For this bhakti lata bij. right? This openness, this presence, this willingness, this desire, this curiosity to have this quality connection. When we sit down to chant our japa, like, oh God, I gotta chant Ashram, right? Or are we like, whew, I'm gonna chant my japa, I cleaned my space, I'm gonna sit and just really be as present as possible and not be like texting on my phone while I'm chanting or whatever distracts you. So how can you bring more presence into your practice and allow this space for more connection and not allowing your own mind and your own distractions and disturbances to keep you from the opportunity that is available in the present moment? And, you know, this is pretty much what I've been thinking about this week, and I wanted to share that. And I hope it has inspired you in some way. And if you have any questions, I'd like to invite you to post your question in the comment section below this video, or go ahead and post your comments. And let's see, we have, first of all, let's see who's here. Again, who joined since I last said hello. Okay, so Christine Dasan, Krishna Kanti joined, and Dayal Govinda Das joined, Vishuddha Das, Narayani, Nadia, Adi, Welch, and Madhu Mangal. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm gonna read this. Oh, this, okay, so Madhu Mangal Prabhu here has quoted, he's added a quote here by William Henry Davies, and it says here, "What is this life if, full of care, we have no time to stand and stare, no time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep or cows? No time to see when woods we pass, where squirrels hide their nuts in grass, no time to see in broad daylight, streams full of stars, like skies at night. No time to turn at beauty's glance and watch her feet, how they can dance. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. A poor life this is, if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare." So nice. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, precisely. You know, I have some inkling, some idea, maybe a little bird, or I don't know what happened, but I was thinking the way this thought came was because I was on the altar last week, Thursday, and I was just noticing my happy mood and thinking, wow, I'm so happy today to do this service. And, you know, I tend to always be happy to do it. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed if I have work till late in the evening and I'm not stopping the whole day. I'll feel overwhelmed and I'll be like, oh, I have to go do this. But I was observing that, and then it made me think about the difference in mood and in behavior and quality and where my mind is and how my mind is focused or present, and how I was, you know, changing not the outfits, but removing the flowers, and with so much care and so much presence and chanting. And it just felt so much better, and it felt different than perhaps a time where I'm rushed and I'm just like, okay, take the thing, grab. And I'm like moving the deity over, like, excuse me, like, okay, bye, like, okay, right? Versus like, oh my gosh, I get to touch the deity and move the deity to the bed, like, different mood, right? It's like this poem that Madhu Mangal has shared. Having time for the unfolding of what we're doing to actually have its effect on us, right? To actually be able to allow that experience to be in the forefront, not the action and the activity, right? But allowing the very journey, the very mood, the very moment to be sacred and precious. We're conscious right now, and we have this ability to choose what reality we want to be in. That's very rare. So let's continue to choose wisely and to be as present as we can with the valuable, valuable treasure that we have, and, you know, continue praying that our little mechanical robotic efforts can someday, one day, yield to a feeling of bhakti in our heart that we can then take and offer, and snowball effect, right? Whatever feeling of bhakti we're giving that, because that's the only thing Krishna consumes, right? Guru Gauranga, that's the only, they don't need anything from us. They're only consuming the bhav, right? As we know, the love, the sentiment, the mood, the emotion of love. And I don't mean like some wild Babaji, like whatever, you know, some imitation or emotional sentiment of love, right? But rather, hey, that softening of the heart, opening. We cannot force, you know, a lotus to blossom, right? And we also cannot force it to shut. I mean, so how, let us allow our hearts to open. Let us allow our hearts to expand in friendliness, in kindness, in connection, in positivity. Why is there a culture of like, you know, like, getting down on people? Like, let's have a culture of uplifting others and speaking nicely of others and encouraging someone's shining and happy. We don't need to chastise them. Let them be happy, right? And same within your heart. You feel that happiness, allow it to unfold and share that with someone. So very, very simple, very elementary, very much my own train of thinking. Disclaimer, this is not backed by direct quotes. But we did chew on a piece of Shastra with this Bina Tulasi Prabhu Eka Nahi Mani. Without Tulsi, Prabhu does not give mind. Without devotion, not giving mind. And obviously, without devotion, our activities are mindless as well. You know, I'm gonna like take that and turn it around a little bit. There's a little bit of a mindlessness that comes when we're not in remembrance of our opportunity for devotion. May not mean we have it, and it may not mean we're doing it well or perfectly, but guess what? We have an opportunity for devotion. We have the opportunity. We get to choose what we do with that opportunity that's in our hands and how we move forward with it. And bhakti is an internal thing. It is an internal revelation, awakening, practice. It's subjective. It does not look the same for you as it looks for him or her or everyone else. So no need to compare yourself to other people, to anybody else, but rather allow your own relationship and connection to your service and to your sadhana to be awakened, so that you have a firm foundation of understanding of what that means for you. So may we continue to expand in our understanding and our capacity, understanding of and our capacity to practice the culture of bhakti yoga. And may we be able to be instruments of that. May we be able to transmit through the heart to others, through our good mood. Okay. Any other comments or questions before we go? I would like to chant a little bit before ending today's live stream. Are there any topics that you guys would like to hear about next week? Anybody? Please comment if there are any topics. If you have any questions, anything you want to share, please feel free to comment. And your feedback is welcome. Okay, so now it is about 8:35 p.m. It feels like 5 minutes went by and an hour went by. And we're here before their lordships. The devotees have left. I'm the only one in the building right now, I believe. And now I would like to do a little kirtan. Welcome to those of you that are just joining. We're just closing the evening talk here. And I'm going to turn the camera to face the altar and chant a little Maha Mantra. And I will chant it twice so you can also follow along, call and response style. And I will be playing the kartals over here. Okay? Dandavat Pranams. Let us chant a little bit together. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Sapadikara Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Rakhak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Saparshad Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshad Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai. Shri Nrsimhadev Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabhat Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Vrindavan Purushottam Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardhan Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari 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 Bol. Bancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanabhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. All of you are like desire trees, all the Vaishnavs, and it is by your blessings that I get to be here and share something. So please continue blessing me with this opportunity to share and to be in service in this way through Sri Harinam Sankirtan, Shravanam and Kirtanam. And feel free to send me a message if you feel inspired. Comment in the comment section if you have any questions, any feedback, any requests, any invitations. And I will be happy to do my best to be of service in some way or another. And thank you for being here tonight. I hope that something that I shared was helpful, inspiring, or at least made you think, and that thinking, I pray, will also open up new windows of consciousness and awakening and enthusiasm for your practicing life. Our sadhana is so important. Let's encourage each other over and over again to keep chanting, to keep hearing, and to keep speaking about Krishna. That is what Sadhu Sangha is about. I mean, my little 5-cent understanding. So let's keep that going. Thank you so much. Thank you, Narayani. Thank you. Oh, so nice you played Mridanga. So nice. Oh, look, Beatrice Kalindi is here. Bhargave is here, and Praneshwari Didi is here. So good to see you here in the ether. Hope to see all of you again next week, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. we will go live here again, or I will go live. And again, every day we have morning and evening lectures here as well with Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj. And of course, the Bhakti Connect, I know is always also recycling the posts and sharing new posts. And every Saturday here we have a movie night. And Chinmoy Dev Prabhu, he puts on these beautiful videos that he edits himself, I believe, and helps to translate. So this is very nice content to watch. I know that actually there was one video the week before that included this shloka that I really want to learn. I think Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj was talking about this, Tattenu kampam suksham mikshamano bunjana evat makritam vipakam. And I'm currently meditating on that verse. So if you want to go back and watch it, go back and watch it, and maybe next week we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Maybe this is our homework. If you want homework, go and find the video from 2 Saturdays ago and watch that video. And I will do my best to also do my homework and watch that video. And then we can have some discussion about that next week. Okay, so now the deities will be put to rest, and we will be collecting all the flowers off the altar. And if you were each here, I would offer each of you a flower, but I will do that virtually. And good night. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Rest well wherever you are in the world. Have a beautiful day. And see you next week. Hare Krishna, Jai Gurudev. Okay, I'm going to turn the camera one more time so you can see them. Jai Saparikara Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Haribol. Dandavat pranam.